Are we heading to war with China? Before COVID hit, we're in a trade war with China. At the end of 2019, there was an alleged deal made with China. This part of the deal was called Phase 1. During that time, did the administration refer to China as a communist country? Did they use words like regime? No, they didn't. How can Trump go from saying things like, "The president and I will always be friends"? Another example would be, quote, "have a great bond." As Trump began to lose the trade war with China, his tone suddenly shifted from great friends to great enemies. We started seeing the media refers to China as Communist China and saw an increase of the use of the word regime. The media does this tactic when it wants to paint the country as an enemy. Some examples of this are the Saddam regime when he still controlled Iraq and now, more recently, Iran or North Korea. In countries like Iran and North Korea, we have placed economic sanctions on them. But, unfortunately, these sanctions were seen as an act of war by these countries. This is what is known as financial war. For example, a trade war is an example of this. Another example would be a currency war. A currency war is when his country devalues their currency to create a competitive advantage. Over the last years, the developed countries have been engaging a currency war. Devaluing their currency makes their goods cheaper to produce. Can financial war lead to actual war? It already has. One of the best examples of this is Japan starting a war with us during World War II. Before the war, we had begun to place sanctions on Japan, as well as increase our naval presence in the Pacific. In 1939, the Pacific Fleet was moved from California to Pearl Harbor. 10 years ago, we saw the start of the Asia pivot. A shift in foreign policy. From the Middle East to the Far East. Not only was it an economic shift but a military shift as well. As a result, over the last decade, there has been a military buildup of the Pacific. An increase in the number of troops in Australia is an example of this. When people think of China as a threat, they often think of former President Donald Trump. But this shift goes back to the Obama administration. Some say that Obama started a new Cold War. But in this case, it's only with China but with Russia as well. The first 2 decades of the 21st century were the era of the War on Terror. Could the next decade be the era of another Cold War?